watching this. I'm trying to get it up. I haven't been streaming in a while, so I need to test to make sure that everything works. Test 1 2. Okay. It's not very loud, but 1 2 3. It's not very loud, but 1 2 3. All right. Okay. So let's begin. So it's been a while since I've streamed. I've clicked on the stream thing here and there while I was playing other games, but I didn't really want to interact. Didn't want to talk. Didn't want to get on the camera. Didn't want to talk. Didn't want to get on it like that. Didn't really feel like it. I'm gonna start out with this new plan. I intend to do 2 different streams. One, I'm gonna do a reading stream. 2, I'm gonna do a game stream. The first book, well, this is the second book. The first one was Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is War and Peace by Tolstoy. I've never read it. I had never read Frankenstein prior to reading it on the stream. This is my public domain collection. I'm going to be reading public domains. I'm going to call this segment John's Nook, as in a reading nook, because you can't see it, but my desk is actually in a bay window, so it's kind of like a nook. It's almost flush to where my desk is flush with the primary wall, because it sits in a bay window with 3 windows. You can't see out them though, because I have them covered with paper curtains. Alright, so we're going to read War and Peace by Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy. I mispronounce things, I apologize. I'm going to put a timer on. And not a timer, a stopwatch. And I'm going to see how long it takes for me to read until my brain fatigues. And that will probably be the baseline amount of time that I'm going to read every day. I have it on my list. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, so I was when Burning Crusade came out, while we were waiting for people to level up so we could raid Karazhan. We do a lot of dailies. Actually, I don't remember the time frame of doing the dailies. It might have been after. I don't know. But anyway, that's when World of Warcraft introduced daily quests to World of Warcraft, so that people would have something to do, because I did every single quest in the Burning Crusade expansion. Because I had just started World of Warcraft, and I raced to the maximum level, and then Burning Crusade released shortly after. And I was playing a warlock because it was such an odd character. And I was raiding with a guild that I was part of. They were a pretty good group of people. They were fun. But then I was doing Shattered Halls trying to gear up so that I could out DPS the mage. And I saw a Paladin tank. And the way he ran the group through the dungeon, I switched to a Paladin. I was playing Horde because a friend of mine in high school who had got me to play World of Warcraft, he was Horde. He's the one who got me to play World of Warcraft, and I played Alliance because I'm an Alliance kind of guy. But a friend of mine was Horde, so I played on him, and I didn't want to take the character seriously, so I chose the thing that I was least likely to be in life. I basically chose the opposite of how I'd want to really be, and that's when I made Morval. And the name was like in one of the randomized. I might have like clicked random on the name like a bunch of times, and then took some of the syllables that I saw of that race's names and kind of put them together so that it sounded good. Morval was a good name. So I basically the opposite of what I generally like to play. It was a warlock because there was a zombie available, and I'm also just gonna chat in these segments until I start reading. The reason I'm talking is I'm waiting for my stopwatch app to update or whatever. I guess I could just use my phone though. But he was a zombie, and I thought it was cool to play as a zombie. And they didn't have a hunter, and I was really into Dritz Dorden. You know, Icewind Dale trilogy. So I wanted to play a hunter because I also like having pets. And the warlock was the closest thing to a hunter that Forsaken could have as a class. They didn't have hunter at the time, and so I played warlock, and I played up to like level 30, 35, and then I quit, and then I got back on, and I found some people to play with, and I actually, once I got into raiding and doing dungeons with a guild, like a continuous group of people who were engaged and talked a lot, and they were friendly, helpful. I mean, sometimes it wasn't friendly and helpful, but you know, that's just people. People aren't always going to be who you want them to be. We're all crap sometimes. But they were a good group of people. This was high school and college. They were the primary group of friends that I spent my time with. I made a Paladin briefly when Burning Crusade came out, and then I ran the quests in Burning Crusade, and once I had completed every quest in Burning Crusade with Morval, and I was waiting on my guild to level up to the new level cap, 70, so that we could raid Karazhan, which was a 10-man guild. It takes 10 people to run it. No, not 10-man guild, a 10-man raid, which was a new thing also because previously all the raids were 40 people. They took 40 individuals to run them effectively. But Karazhan was good because it was a 10-man raid, I think, and it allowed for smaller guilds to experience raiding. So it was fun. So while I was waiting for everybody to level up so we could do Karazhan, and in between Karazhan runs, I started to level up a Paladin, and I didn't really have anything to do at the time because I was kind of doing what I am now, and I just train a lot and deal with whatever I got to deal with. And when I'm resting, like at the time, this is what I did for rest. I played World of Warcraft for rest, like between going on 15-mile runs or whatever else I was doing and doing yard work in school and stuff, or judo or taekwondo or weightlifting or jogging or whatever it was, because I took a lot of health classes in college, and because I was planning on being a soldier, and I just talked to these people. They were real cool, but being a paladin tank was real fun because they had a certain set of abilities. It was different. They didn't have a taunt, which means they could not directly force an enemy to focus on them. That's been corrected. They have a taunt now. They did not have a taunt then. They didn't have a charge, which for me, I just like charge. I like charge in Heroic Leap, but I like paladins. I wish paladin had charge in Heroic Leap because they're just fun. But anyway, so the way that it would run as a paladin is I would throw my shield at them, Avengers shield like Captain America, because we didn't have guns or anything. We didn't have any kind of ranged pulling technique, so whenever the Avengers shield came out, it was basically the best pulling technique. And or I'd get someone else to do it, or really most of the time, if I didn't pull anything, because as a paladin, we didn't do crowd control. Once I was of a sufficient level, we didn't need to do crowd control. Warriors could only focus on one thing at a time generally, and they had to have the rest of the group manage, like paralyzing, seducing, polymorphing, whatever. They had to do all this stuff to the other enemies so the warrior could handle the main enemy that was being focused on. With a paladin, I could just run in there, start hitting stuff, tell everybody else, don't fucking touch anything. Nothing. Don't touch anything. And just let me get hit. Because I had my style was Retribution Aura. So every time they hit me, they were damaged, so that caused threat. Because it hurt them to hit me more than it hurt me. Reflect, same thing. And then Consecration Aura. Anyone that was even around me would just be in pain from the consecrated ground. And sometimes we'd just say, wait, heal me. Wait, just wait. Let them be mad at me. Let them be very, very mad at me so that you can all kill them however you want. Let them focus on me. And then once I got that and I started gearing up, it changed the game. It was fun. It was a good way to hang out with friends that I wasn't living around. It was fun. It wasn't a serious thing, but it was fun. It was a lot of enjoyment. It was almost as fun as like playing basketball with a group of friends or something. Except it was something that I could do when I was too tired to do any of that other stuff. Anyway, I don't remember why I was talking about this. So anyway, I'm going to do 2 streams. John's Nook, which is a reading public domain stream. And there we go, I got my stopwatch. And a video game stream. I'm going to start out with Call of Duty because it's one of the oldest still producing first-person shooter franchises. So I'm going to try to get back into my gaming ability, and I figure why not start with one of the original shooters. I mean, it's not an original, but it's old. It's like 2004 shooter or something. So let's see how it does. I enjoyed playing the first one, but and I need to practice my aim and stuff. So I'll try it out. And then for the book, War and Peace. So let's see. How long have I been rambling? Does it show my stream timer? Is there one? No, it doesn't have one. Yeah, here we are, 15 minutes. I can talk very easily. Alright, I'm not going to read the introduction. I learned that from the introduction of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The person who wrote the introduction to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein criticized the reader for reading the introduction first. And I had never experienced that before. I always thought that it was important to read everything, which actually makes it very difficult to read. I'll see how long. I'll try to push through to a chapter and see how long that takes. And I'm gonna set a basis. I'm not gonna have a regular schedule yet because I don't have a regular schedule in my life. I haven't figured out how to live on a schedule. So it's going to be unscheduled, but I'm going to publish the books, the recordings. And thank you for, let's see. It says I have one viewer. Thanks for listening. And thanks for watching. And if you're not watching this live, if you happen to come across this in a week or 1,000 years, I'm talking to you too. The soiree at Anna Scherer's. At Anna Scherer's. Scherer's, I don't know, it's a German name or something. War and Peace with red and gold. Bound in red and gold. The little X's. Lots of filigree. The soiree at Anna Scherer's. Well, Prince, so Genoa and Luca are now just family estates of the Bonapartes. But I warn you, if you don't tell me that this means war, if you still try to defend the infamies and horrors perpetrated by that Antichrist, I really believe he is Antichrist, I will have nothing more to do with you, and you are no longer my friend, no longer my faithful slave, as you call yourself. But how do you do? I see I have frightened you. Sit down and tell me all the news. It was in July 1805, and the speaker was the well-known Anna Pavlovna Scherer, maid of honor and favorite of the Empress Maria Fedorovna. With these words, she greeted Prince Vasily, a man of high rank and importance, who was the first to arrive at her reception. Oh, let me start the timer. Where was I? Anna Pavlovna had had a cough for some days. She was, as she said, suffering from la grippe. Grippe being then a new word in St. Petersburg, used only by the elite. All her inventions, without exception, written in French, delivered by a scarlet liveried footman that morning. All her invitations, without exception, written in French and delivered by a scarlet liveried footman that morning, ran as follows. If you have nothing better to do, Count or Prince, and if the prospect of spending an evening with a poor invalid is not too terrible, I shall be very charmed to see you tonight between 7 and 10. Annette Scherer. Heavens, what a very virulent attack, replied the Prince, not in the least disconcerted by this reception. He had just entered wearing an embroidered court uniform, knee breeches and shoes, and had stars on his breast and a serene expression on his flat face. He spoke in that refined French in which our grandfathers not only spoke but thought, and with the gentle, patronizing intonation natural to a man of importance who had grown old in society and at court. He went up to Anna Pavlovna, kissed her hand, presenting to her his bald, scented, and shining head, and complacently seated himself on the sofa. So, thinking about this, my ability to read and speak, to orate, is not great. So, what I intend to do is, if this series of John's Nook continues, I'll reread this book someday when my reading abilities improved. Where was I? Oh, I don't remember where I was. So, Heavens, what a virulent attack, replied the prince, not in the least disconcerted by this reception. He had just entered, wearing an embroidered court uniform, knee breeches and shoes, and had stars on his breast and a serene expression on his flat face. He spoke in that refined French in which our grandfathers not only spoke but thought, and with the gentle, patronizing intonation natural to a man of importance who had grown old in society and at court. He went up to Anna Pavlovna, kissed her hand, presenting to her his bald, scented, and shining head, and complacently seated himself on the sofa. First of all, dear friend, tell me how you are. Set your friend's mind at ease, said he, without altering his tone. Beneath the politeness and affected sympathy of which indifference and even irony could be discerned. Can one be well while suffering morally? Can one be calm in times like these if one has any feeling? Said Anna Pavlovna. You are staying the whole evening, I hope? And the fete at the English ambassador's. Today is Wednesday. I must put in an appearance there, said the prince. My daughter is coming to me to take me there. I thought today's fete had been canceled. I confess all these festivities and fireworks are becoming wearisome. If they had known that you wished it, the entertainment would have been put off, said the prince, who, like a wound-up clock, by force of habit, and things he did not even wish to be believed. Don't tease. Well, what has been decided about Novosiltsev's dispatch? You know everything. What can one say about it? Replied the prince in a cold, listless tone. What has been decided? They have decided that Bonaparte has burned his boats, and I believe that we are ready to burn ours. Prince Vasily always spoke languidly, like an actor repeating a stale part. Anna Pavlovna Scherer, on the contrary, despite her 40 years, overflowed with animation and impulsiveness. To be an enthusiast had become her social vocation, and sometimes, even when she did not feel like it, she became enthusiastic in order not to disappoint the expectations of those who knew her. The subdued smile, which, though it did not suit her faded features, always played round her lips, expressed as in a spoilt child a continual consciousness of her charming defect, which she neither wished nor could, nor considered it necessary to correct. In the midst of conversation on political matters, Anna Pavlovna burst out, "Oh, don't speak to me of Austria. Perhaps I don't understand things, but Austria never has wished and does not wish for war. She is betraying us. Russia alone must save Europe. Our gracious sovereign recognizes his high vocation and will be true to it. That is the one thing I have faith in. Our good and wonderful sovereign has to perform the noblest role on earth, and he is so virtuous and noble that God will not forsake him. He will fulfill his vocation and crush the hydra of revolution, which has become more terrible than ever in the person of this murderer and villain. We alone must avenge the blood of the just one. Whom, I ask you, can we rely on? England, with her commercial spirit, will not and cannot understand the Emperor Alexander's loftiness of soul. She has refused to evacuate Malta. She wanted to find and still seeks some secret motive in our actions. What answer did Novosiltsev What answer did Novostiltsev get? None. The English have not understood and cannot understand the self-abnegation of our emperor, who wants nothing for himself but only desires the good of mankind. And what have they promised? Nothing. And what little they have promised they will not perform. Prussia has always declared that Bonaparte is invincible and that all Europe is powerless before him. And I don't believe a word that Hardenberg says, or Haugwitz either. The famous Prussian neutrality is just a trap. I have faith only in God and the lofty destiny of our adorned monarch. He will save Europe. She suddenly paused, smiling at her own impetuosity. I think, said the prince with a smile, that if you had been sent instead of our dear Wenzingorod, you would have captured the King of Prussia's consent by assault. You are so eloquent, will you give me a cup of tea? In a moment, propos, she added, becoming calm again. I am expressing two very interesting men tonight. Le, Le Vicomte de Mortemart, who is connected with the Montmorencys through Rohans, one of the best French families. He is one of the genuine emigres, the good ones, and also the Abbe Morio. Do you know that profound thinker? He has been received by the emperor. Had you heard? I shall be delighted to meet them, said the prince. But tell me, he added with studied carelessness, as if it had only just occurred to him through the question, though the question he was about to ask was the chief motive of his visit. Is it true that the Dowager Empress wants Baron Funk to be appointed first secretary at Vienna? The Baron, by all accounts, is a poor creature. Prince Vasily wished to obtain this post for his son, but others were trying through the Dowager Empress, Maria Fedorovna, to secure it for the Baron. Anna Pavlovna almost closed her eyes to indicate that neither she nor anyone else had a right to criticize what the Empress desired or was pleased with. Baron Funk has been recommended to the Dowager Empress by her sister, was all she said in a dry and mournful tone. As she named the Empress, Anna Pavlovna's face suddenly assumed an expression of profound and sincere devotion and respect mingled with sadness, and this occurrence every time she mentioned her illustrious patroness. She added that Her Majesty had designed to show Baron Funk beaucoup d'estime, and again her face clouded over with sadness. The prince was silent and looked indifferent, but with the womanly and courtier-like quickness and tact habitual to her, Anna Pavlovna wished both to rebuke him for daring to speak as he had done of a man recommended to the Empress, and at the same time to console him. So she said, "Now about your family. Do you know that since your daughter came out, everyone has been enraptured with her? They say she is amazingly beautiful." The prince bowed to signify his respect and gratitude. I often think, she continued, after a short pause, drawing nearer to the prince and smiling amiably at him as if to show that political and social topics were ended and the time had come for intimate conversation. I often think how unfairly sometimes the joys of life are distributed. Why has fate given you two such splendid children? I don't speak of Anatoly, your youngest. I don't like him, she added in a tone admitting of no rejoinder and raising her eyebrows. Two such charming children. Two such charming children, and really you appreciate them less than any one, and you don't deserve to have them. And she smiled her ecstatic smile. I can't help it, said the prince. Lavater would have said I lack the bump of paternity. Don't joke. I mean to have a serious talk with you. Do you know I am dissatisfied with your younger son? Between ourselves, and her face assumed its melancholy expression. He was mentioned at Her Majesty's, and you were pitied. The prince answered nothing, but she looked at him significantly, awaiting a reply. He frowned. What would you have me do? He said at last. You know I did all a father could for their education, and they have both turned out fools. Hippolyte is at least a quiet fool, but Anatoly is an active one. This is the only difference between them. He said this smiling in a way more natural and animated than usual, so that the wrinkles around his mouth very clearly revealed something unexpectedly coarse and unpleasant. And why are children born to such men as you? If you were not a father, there would be nothing I could reproach you with, said Anna Pavlovna, looking up pensively. I am your faithful slave, and to you alone I can confess that my children are the bane of my life. It is the cross I have to bear. This is how I explain it to myself. It can't be helped. He said no more, but expressed his resignation to cruel fate by a gesture. Anna Pavlovna mediated. "Have you never thought of marrying your prodigal son, Anatoly?" she asked. "They say old maids have a mania for matchmaking, and though I don't feel that weakness in myself as yet, I know a little person who is very unhappy with her father. She is a relation of yours, Princess Mary Bolkonskaya." Prince Vasily did not reply, though. With the quickness of memory and perception befitting a man of the world, he indicated by a movement of the head that he was considering this information. "Do you know," he said at last, evidently unable to check the sad current of his thoughts, "that Anatoly has cost me 40,000 rubles a year?" He went on after a pause. "What will it be in 5 years if he goes on like this?" Presently he added, "That's what we fathers have to put up with. Is this princess of yours rich?" "Her father is very rich and stingy. He lives in the country. He is the well-known Prince Bolkonsky, who had to retire from the army under the late emperor and was nicknamed the King of Prussia. He is very clever, but eccentric and a bore. The poor girl is very unhappy. She has a brother. I think you know him. He married Lisa Minin lately. He is an aide-de-camp of Kutuzov's and will be here tonight." "Listen, dear Annette," said the prince, suddenly taking Anna Pavlovna's hand and for some reason drawing it downwards. Arrange that affair for me, and I shall always be your most devoted slave." Slave with an F, as a village elder of mine Slave with an F, as a village elder of mine writes in his reports. "She is rich and of good family, and that's all I want." And with the familiarity and easy grace peculiar to him, he raised the maid of honor's hand to his lips, kissed it, and swung it to and fro as he lay back in his armchair, looking in another direction. "Attendez," said Anna Pavlovna, reflecting. I'll speak to Lisa, young Bolkonsky's wife, this very evening, and perhaps the thing can be arranged. It shall be on your family's behalf that I'll start my apprenticeship as old maid." That's 15 minutes. That's one chapter. That's what I'm going to do. My head is starting to hurt right here, behind my eye. And my ability to translate my thoughts into verbiage, to speak, is deteriorating. So I'm going to stop for now. 15 minutes sounds good. I'll try to set a goal of 15 minutes per day to read, because by the end of that, my grasp on reading had deteriorated to the point that the words weren't ideal. Is good enough of a word? Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully, unless I like disappear again. I'll probably play Call of Duty a little later or something. 15 minutes per day sounds like a fine time to read out loud. Anyway, thank you for your time. See you shortly.